just thinking that I really feel like I am. I was wondering if he's whenever but like I said, I started putting together. Normally I don't write it down. Normally I do it on the spot. So something like that. I don't know. It's so obvious that and I found that handy. Bluetooth was on. I was talking about how I really feel like I'm Alice in Wonderland, Wandering Museum, and there's just so much, and I did pull together a playlist a while ago and wrote it down, which I normally don't do, but normally do it on the spot. But a theme like that, I was kind of like, there's just so much I could use that it just seems so obvious that unless I could find a really interesting angle or something, I felt it was either that or Wizard of Oz, because I'd have to explain how I'd have to talk about how my roommates back in Brooklyn, and their names. Just almost so obvious that I don't know how I don't know. Like I have thought about this before, but and the people in conjunction with different happenings, but there's 4 of us, and there's me, Caitlyn, and there was Michael, and these are the original 4 of us, Adam, and Lauren, or called her Lou. Everyone knew her by Lou. And it's weird because her voice sounds so much like that tarot reader that I found on YouTube. Unmistakable. My phone died, so yeah. So if you want to know how Genesis went, I guess you could just parallel out my roommates and me in apartment in Brooklyn, because Lucifer, not that she was, but just going by names, Adam moved out to live with his boyfriend Greg, and then Michael and I were really good friends, like best friends, and we dated briefly, but then he moved out and we still talk as friends, but yeah, I don't know what Lou's doing anymore, but after, like I've talked about before, after Adam moved out, Michael and I were thinking in our own apartment, so we kind of left it up to Lou to pick the next roommates, but then she picked 2 guys who were kind of, well, more or less shady, and they actually turned out to know each other from before and didn't say as much. I don't really know what one of them said. He didn't say what he did. Just said, like, whatever you want, Lou, because we're leaving, we're out of here, but then we ended up staying. And one of them was named Bobby and Bo. Was like a banker, and the other one, we didn't know what he did. He just wanted to, he had a dare pretty much, like, so he lived with his parents somewhere, and you can talk about what he did. He said it was really, like, overwhelming and a lot of stress. So he just wanted a place in New York to, like, go to on the weekends. It's nice, and he started redoing our apartment, but it was a little bit of there was a lot going on. And then when it turns out that Bobby and Lou weren't paying rent because our building was foreclosure, and the other guy, Bo, and then Michael had moved out by this point. Turns out he wasn't exactly who he said he was. So I pretty much just asked everyone to leave. And I spent the next year or so just living there on my own, last year in New York, and renovating it. And I let Lou stay for a little bit, like a month, because we were friends, and an actress, trying to be an actress in New York, and working in restaurants as a cater waiter. And we could talk about things like theology and philosophy a little bit, and religion. She was went to church, Hillsong United a few times together. But, she had her issues as well. And everyone. And eventually I just felt like it was best to try to figure things out on my own and get the apartment lease legitimate, since, it's just the way things happen in New York when you look for a room, and we all ended up together, and this is an apartment that had been at least at some point, I guess, and then they sublet it, and then those people sublet it, and who knows who I was renting from. So I just wanted to get everything on the record and clear and down on paper, and my landlord was kind of a Jimmy, James McGowan, a little bit notorious as well, in Brooklyn, I guess. He wanted me to put like a check, like send them a check for like without seeing a lease, and I said no, please show me a lease first and make sure that that's all before I just put a check for $10,000 in the mail, right? So, and I did win in court, but then he started the whole process over because he wanted to like Airbnb it or something. I don't know. Shady New York landlords, but every lawyer I reached out to and looking things up on him, because he owned a lot of property in the area, was just more than happy to, I suppose if his buildings were in foreclosure, just more than happy to send me any information they had on him. I had a file, a folder like this, like on him, just like depositions and court briefings and all kinds of things. And then about the building as well, and how it wasn't up to standard and code, and checked all those things because it's public. That building, it's 3+ units, needs to be at a certain standard in New York, and it wasn't registered, and all these things. I would have won like 5 times over, actually. He put in the wrong deed because he had like shady businesses like Brooklyn Entertainment, Brooklyn Theatrics, Brooklyn whatever, and all these different like subsidiaries, and he tried to get me out of the apartment, put in the wrong deed for the building, like mixed them up, so then they automatically threw it out. But I would have won like a million times over regardless. In any case, James McGowan, all these like names that are just so like biblical in a sense. And then I came back here, and it's funny, I did have like a razor blade type situation in my throat. At one point I got really sick with a fever, and I think just from the commute in New York and like the weather change from hot to like cold, AC, and like all the germs and people and commuting, and I would get sick a lot there. But I got really sick with a fever, but this time, and this never happened before, after it was felt like a razor blade was like lodged in my throat. Maybe I got like delivery or something, and maybe there was some shard of glass or something, and just got kind of lodged in there. I was in so much pain. I had to go to the emergency room. I had to put me on all this, like, it was just pain medication. But Lou stayed with me. Michael and Lou took me, but Michael had work at like 5 a.m. in the morning, so he had to leave, and Lou stayed with me for like the next 5 hours. It was really nice of her. I was like, oh, baby. But it's just like these, I feel like I was gonna wake up any minute and be back in Brooklyn, and like you were there, but you were a tarot reader. And you were, I don't know where you were, and we never, you were my cousin, and just like, well, I do have a cousin named Adam, but I'm trying to find options. They're just funny. I'm not saying definitively that's how things went, but it's interesting to think that me, Archangel Michael, Lucifer and Adam were all four people together in an apartment, and Lucifer's last to leave. Adam was the first. But they just moved down the block, so. It was kind of like a hippie, like music festivals and things like that. Michael worked in some sort of fashion, more or less, but distribution center of like vintage clothes in New Jersey, where they received tons of shipments in this like warehouse, and he would sort. He had clients like that comes around, goes around in vintage stores in New York that he would pull for, but a lot of it was throwaway and just sent to like Goodwill. So he knew a lot of men's fashion, and Lou, like I said, was a actress in New York and nanny, and worked in restaurants or as a cater waiter at the Bowery Hotel. So, and then I was design fashion and had my illustration business, and yeah, Adam just like an office job. Funny. Who knows? Maybe the world ended when I left New York. Feels like that for me, at least. So yeah, if that's maybe some sort of parallel for how Genesis went. Who knows? But you know, back from Botanic Gardens, I got really cool, crinkly plate. It's so pretty up there. I think I'm gonna go spend the whole day. Not enough time. But now I know how to get there. So, smooth sailing from here on out.